Anytime we danced in groups, anytime there was filming, anytime I was asked to face another direction, game over. It was like I literally never learned the choreography at all. It became habitual. When classes opened back up again, my retention was immediately a million times better. And what I realized was that practicing these skills, it became an unintentional grounding technique. It allowed me to become present in my body again. Hi, everyone. My name is Priscilla Piper, and welcome to the Decision to Dance podcast. I am so excited that you all are here. I am talking about the How to Retain Choreography classes that changed my life as a dancer, and I have a story that I think is really special and really gives you insight as to why this is important. I hadn't really talked about these classes until a couple years ago, and I realized I hadn't really shared anything online about how I had been taking them and the impact they had made. And I talk about how these tools are really crucial for anybody at any level, no matter where you are in your dance process, from complete beginner to advanced dancer and everything in between. Don't forget that you can follow us. That way you can stay up to date with everything that we are releasing. You won't ever miss a single one. And it's easy to forget sometimes when we release episodes. You get caught up in your life. And it's nice when you can just get on your app and notice, oh, we released a new one, and you can click on it and always be in tune with what we are posting. So thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and let's go ahead and get into it. When I returned to dance, my retention was so incredibly bad. I would literally blank on choreography in 90% of the classes I took, and I was taking a lot of class in the beginning. Anytime we danced in groups, anytime there was filming, anytime I was asked to face another direction, game over. Game over. It was like I literally never learned the choreography at all. It wasn't just, oh, I forgot a few 8 counts, let me pick it back up. It was like, no, like you're actually done. Like it was completely out of my brain. So a few months after dancing again, I started to realize that I was creating a habit. It became habitual. It was like trigger, one of those 3 things, camera, groups, facing another direction. And that created a signal to my brain like danger, danger. We are unsafe. Let's pick one of 3 things: fight, flight, or freeze. And my brain and my body froze every single time. Like 90 plus percent, like 95%. I did not witness other people experiencing this in the way that I was. It was so discouraging. Eventually, I realized this constant freeze mode that was happening is actually a stress response that I created for myself, but also the stress response is how I tend to respond to stressful situations in my own day-to-day life. So I realized at some point during this, I was like, this is not just a dance issue. This is not just a how to retain choreography issue. This is a personal issue. And I didn't really know what to do about it. I was like, I know this happens to me. So fast forward, I returned to dance in August of 2019. And as we know, March 2020 pandemic hits. And then Galen Hooks, shortly after that, starts teaching how to retain choreography classes. And at the time, they were live online. And I was so elated when I saw Galen was going to release these. I was like, this is everything that I need. And I never saw those types of classes before. And so I was signing up. And honestly, I signed up for like every single one of those classes that were offered. And I don't know how many she ended up teaching over the course of those couple of years, but I'm pretty confident I took every single one because I knew I needed it so desperately. So, in those first few classes I took from her, I was taking notes. And it was really helpful because when I was practicing these tools, I needed to visualize. I'm a visual learner and I like almost like a flow chart. Like that helps my brain understand. So I took the classes that she offered and I was like, okay, this is the first skill set, the first tool I'm going to practice because this makes sense for me. And then once I do that, I'm going to do this next one. And then once I do that, so on and so forth. So when classes opened back up again, my retention was immediately a million times better. And what ended up happening was that in the classes that were much more up my alley, it quickly became a non-issue. In the classes and in the styles that were not my strong suit, it did take a bit more time for me to overcome this challenge, but I did eventually get there. So, what I had noticed was that in those particular classes, sometimes I still would completely blank. And as I mentioned, in the past, I would completely blank and would never get it back. And that still happened from time to time, but it was not as often. And what was happening was that the blanking was happening fewer and farther in between each class. If I did completely blank, I go out for groups and at some point in time forget and completely blank out on the rest of it. What I then could do was go to the side of the classroom as everyone else is going in their groups, and I'm starting back to the beginning of the combo, and I'm slowly going through it, and I'm breathing through it, and I'm talking through it to myself, and I'm saying, okay, what's the first step? What's the first 8 count? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I'm not even kidding. That is how slow I would go to get myself back to a present state. And eventually, once I got myself going, I could get through the whole combo. And what I realized was that practicing these skills, it became an unintentional grounding technique. It allowed me to become present in my body again. So then I could go back to groups and do it. And that was never the case before. But that was happening less and less. And then if I did trip over some steps or blank on some steps, maybe a few 8 counts passed by and then I could get back into it. Eventually, 1 8 count, get back into it. Eventually, 2 counts, get back into it. Eventually, just one little step, get back into it. And so, what ended up happening was that in the classes that were my strong suit, I started getting asked to do solos. In the classes that were a bit more challenging for me, I started getting called out to be filmed, whereas in the past, I would not be asked to be filmed. So, things started shifting dramatically. And I was leaving class feeling so much better about myself. And it wasn't about like feeling better about myself, but it just felt like I was getting the most out of class and I wasn't constantly leaving feeling frustrated solely on the fact that I was always forgetting the choreography. So I could actually leave class and be like, okay, like I got through it. Like that's good and that's a win and that's exciting. It's okay if I didn't you know, if I wasn't the best one in class or if I didn't get called out or whatever, it wasn't about that. I could leave feeling like, whew, I actually can be proud of what I did. So I didn't see the camera or groups or facing another direction as a threat anymore. And that was really a nice place to be. And it started to make me realize that there was a perceived sense of feeling unsafe due to those different variables or situations that I was in. And I think a lot of it was just unfamiliar. And so, because it was unfamiliar, my body and my brain perceived it as a threat and unsafe, which is frustrating when it's like, I'm just trying to get through class. But really, my body is trying to protect myself and be like, this is not safe. Let's shut down so we can get through this experience. But it's like, you're not helping me. This is not helping. Thank you, but this is not what I need. So I'm glad that my nervous system was able to kind of calm down and work through things. So I want to tell a story of when I was taking class and a teacher that was in town from LA actually noticed that I was working on these tools. I was in a large class. There were a lot of people in this class. And it was, I believe, an intermediate slash advanced hip hop dance class. And I knew where I stood in that class and I was okay with it. I was just honestly happy to be there, happy to learn from the other great dancers around me. So I get myself in the back corner and the teacher starts teaching the choreography. And I immediately am like, oh no, this is quick. This is hard. So, because I have the how to retain choreography skills in my back pocket, I am pulling them out. I'm doing everything that I can to get that choreography in my body and in my brain. So then I realize I'm actually starting to get it. I'm getting the choreography. And then halfway through class, he had us switch lines and go to a different part of the classroom. So I went from back corner to center middle, and that was a bold choice for me, but I did. And we did the choreography a lot. We did it with counts, we did it with the music, and believe it or not, like we would end an A count like facing the right, and on count 8, I was facing the right with everyone else. Like I was actually keeping up. It was insane. I was like, I like couldn't believe it. Granted, was I the most clean? Was I the best one? Heck no. No, I wasn't. But I was keeping up, and that was a huge win. Huge win. Okay. I, at the end of class, tell the teacher, thank you for class. And the teacher tells me, I saw you struggling to pick up the choreography, so I almost went over to help you. Which in my mind, I was like, wow, that's so generous and so kind that you would come over to help me. But then he said, I saw you working on it and I saw you getting it. So keep going and keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop. And I was like, oh my gosh. This guy has no idea who I am. He knows nothing about me. He doesn't know anything about my dance experience. He doesn't know anything about me returning to dance. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know that I used to completely blank on choreography. And to me, that was like kind of like the highest form of a compliment that I could receive at that time in my experience, because I wasn't in a place where I was trying to get booked. I wasn't trying to make connections in that way. I was just trying to get through class and get better. And that was my focus. And for somebody in general to say that to me, but also somebody who didn't know me at all, who is established in the industry, who lives in LA and is telling me this is like, wow, keep doing what you're doing and keep going. Oh, it made such a difference for me. And I was like, absolutely, absolutely, I will. And it was really encouraging. So that made me realize a couple things. It made me realize that your teachers are and watching you and observing you to see how you pick up choreography. And that's kind of important if you are pursuing this professionally. I am not currently a professional dancer. However, I feel like it's really insightful information. Your teachers are watching you, whether you're in the back corner. I was in the back corner of this huge class, and I was not even close to being the average dancer in that classroom. And that teacher was still watching me. So I don't think you should gain these tools to necessarily impress your teacher, but it's a nice byproduct of it. And it also looks like you know what you're doing. And I've also seen other clips of choreographers saying that they do watch other dancers and how they pick up choreography. I saw a video actually a little while ago from Costumier, and they were saying that one of them will teach the choreography and the other one will watch the dancers and see how they pick up the choreography. So, boom, it's right there. Kind of important, but also important for a hobbyist or somebody who's returning to dance or just somebody who is struggling with retaining choreography. This is such a wonderful skill to have. That way you don't leave class feeling as frustrated. That is a huge win in itself. And then once you're able to tackle that, it's like, oh, I can really pick up on the details now. I can really focus on the areas I wasn't able to focus on before because I was just trying to get the gist of the choreography. Now, for my dancers who do not take class often, it is important for me to say that was a time where I was dancing extremely consistently. Right now, that is not the case for me, and that has not been the case for quite some time. I have not danced consistently in over 4.5 years. If you don't believe me, I'm filming this in August 2025. The last time I took class was in March 2025 in person. So, with that being said, when I do get into a choreography class, I am holding on for dear life to these how to retain choreography tools because I don't practice consistently. So, because things aren't fresh and that muscle isn't strong for me, I am relying so heavily on these tools. And I know I leave class and I'm like, that is not my best. It's just because I'm not practicing consistently. But because I have these tools in my back pocket, either I'm not blinking at all or I'm not blinking like I would have before. I can recover. I can go in front of a camera, and even if I forget, I can get back into it. And, it's going to happen. Sometimes, like, it's hard to recover. But again, if I'm taking 5 classes a year, 4 classes a year, like one loss like that is not that big of a deal. And the more you practice, the more that's just going to go away. So, very, very helpful for anybody who does not practice consistently. It will make your life a million times easier that you have these tools in your back pocket to pull out when you aren't practicing consistently, but you want to hop in a class and you want to enjoy as much as you can out of class. No matter where your skill set is, no matter what level you're at, these are helpful for everybody. And the way I like to see it, if you are asking yourself, am I good at retaining choreography? I feel like I'm pretty good at it. The way I would evaluate that is if you are able to pick up choreography in your worst styles, and you're very good at it, then you're probably great at picking up choreography. However, if you're only good at picking up choreography in your best styles and you're not good at picking it up in your worst styles, then I would say you definitely still need to work on that. So that's how I would assess that situation. So, of course, I'm going to recommend what I've taken, which are the How to Retain Choreography classes that Galen Hooks offers. She now has GHM On-Demand, so it is now a on-demand platform where you can take these classes digitally at any time of the day. Right now, from what I understand, there are 5 different How to Retain Choreography classes on there. The first one is Life Rafts, formerly known as Tent Pole Moments. And that's probably the one that I would recommend first if you are wondering where to start. Fill in the blank, story time, drilling, clean as you go. Ooh, really quickly on this one, I am a much cleaner dancer because of that class. It made me realize that I have the ability to be clean. I have the ability to be detail oriented. Whereas before, I was just a messy dancer, like for no reason. But I think I was just not detailed on how I was picking up the choreography. So when you can use that as a way to be clean and use it as a way to remember the choreography, it's a win-win situation. So highly, highly, highly recommend that one. If you are looking through all these and you don't want to do the bundle, where you can purchase all of them at one time, I would go through and read the descriptions and read, are you doing any of these already? And any of the ones that you're not, I would start with those. And if you're not doing any of them at all, I would do the bundle. But if you aren't doing any of those and you don't want to do all of them at one time, I would start with the life rafts or even maybe the clean as you go. Ugh, they're all just so good. Yeah, kind of hard to pick, but that would be my recommendation. I started noticing more recently within the last couple of years that more people have been releasing their own version of how to retain choreography. I haven't taken those other classes. I believe they're all online, but I would be curious to see what the overlap is and what the differences are from what I've learned from Galen. And actually, if any of you have done those classes, please let me know. I would love to try them. And I think at the end of the day, it's pretty cool to learn from different teachers the same skills. And even if you take from different teachers and you love 90% of what one teacher's doing and you only like 5% of what another teacher's doing, take that 5% with you, take that 90% and put it together and make it your own. I mean, even if you don't love what a teacher's doing, I still think there is validity to even a small percentage of what they are doing. So see it from that perspective, you can still take something away from it. And at the end of the day, you are not a bad dancer if you cannot pick up choreography. Please don't believe that. I definitely used to believe that myself. It is not one and the same. It is a skill set, and that's all that it is. So I'm very, very, very thankful to Galen for teaching these. She also does teach them in person. So you can keep an eye out for that as well. So I'm going to link the website to her GHM On-Demand courses where you can take the How to Retain Choreography classes. I have also done the on-demand classes too. So I plan on actually getting back into it again, refreshing my memory a bit. So I'm excited to take those classes again. And let me know if you are somebody who also has struggled with retaining choreography. And if so, what is something that you are going to do to try to resolve it now? But if this is something that you used to struggle with, what have you done to overcome it? Share your insight with us, please. We are all trying to get better out here. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you all. And don't forget that you can leave us a comment. Let us know how you enjoyed the episode, and we will see you all next time. Bye.